Yep. So when we take a look at a typical branch environment, now we're talking about just, outside of the data center, we have, our typical users there. Maybe they're on Wi-Fi, maybe they're wired, they're using printers, they've got different services that are local to the branch that might be specific to what they're doing. You'll typically have a couple of switches, maybe it's a switch stack. So there is a little bit of redundancy there, but what you also typically find is an expensive router, an expensive firewall, and some sort of, connection, whether it be MPLS or internet broadband or whatever it might be. This is very typical today, and something I've seen for years. And rarely have any kind of redundancy, maybe have link redundancy. But if you want to build a smart branch, how do you do that? Well, you bring in a device like Versa that can collapse your firewall and your router into a single appliance, okay? You connect that to your internet broadband, and it calls home, and it builds the tunnels. So the better choice is to even use multiple connectivity there on the edge, right? So you have, and then those boxes can represent anything. It could be LTE, it could be Comcast, Fios, you name it, all the national carriers, local carriers, consolidated. There's a variety of them. That's where you get the magic of SD-WAN, is when you have multiple paths back to the data center and to your resources, because now you can start taking advantage of the things that we're trying to show in these technical demos.
So does this require like MPLS, or it will work across, it's transport independent?
It's totally transport independent. You can, as long as you've got connectivity to the web is really all you need. You can even do point-to-point though. I mean, we have done that where you get sort of like a VLAN type connection on the outside edge and connect back to the home base. It will build the tunnels right over top of that just fine.
So one of the questions just popped in. This is like, how can this be cheaper? It seems like we're adding more products in. Are we collapsing the stack, or are we adding more products?
In this case, we're collapsing that stack because we're putting the firewall services on top of the Versa appliances, and the checkpoint piece can come in two flavors. It could be either a VM running on the Versa box in a hypervisor, or it can be the cloud-based, the cloud gateway service that Checkpoint now offers. But the key point here is the pane of glass that you get for Versa is one thing, but your original pane of glass that you had with Checkpoint remains the same. So even though it's running inside of that box, you still have the same visibility you've always had. And I know there's no one out there that wants to give that up. If they like Checkpoint and they want to stay with that product, that's great. That's what we offer. That's what you get.
So on this piece, there's an age-old problem between networking and security. There's always finger pointing between the two people. It's not the network, it's the security. It's not the security, it's the network. Mm-hmm. With this visibility on the Versa side, does that mean you can actually see down into the WAN connections and maybe even see the what's happening on the actual circuits, no matter who is controlling the circuit?
Absolutely, yeah. It is ridiculous. When you look at compared to what we had in the past, I mean, you'd have to enable NetFlow, and then you had to have a collector, and maybe you had to buy a third-party system that would look at that interface for you, and that was an extra service you had to write on the network and secure it and pay for. This comes with it. This is part of the package. You get that analytics that can look at things at an application flow. You can look at connectivity types. You can look at jitter, latency, the reliability of the circuit, how much bandwidth is going across it, what type of bandwidth is going across it, where it's going. It's very, very granular, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about it.
So you'd probably know when you had a connection problem before the circuit transport provider would be able to call you and tell you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we can set up alerting in it too. I mean, alerting comes with it as a package. We can send, once a threshold is met and something's broken, we can certainly have the system at the controller level send, emails to the appropriate parties, or SMS messages for that matter, if they want, and let them know that something's gone sideways. Because, as magical as SD-WAN is, if someone takes out a telephone pole and they only have a single link, well, they at least need to be alerted to the fact that happened.
Nice, and that'll help some of the finger pointing too. All righty, let's keep going.